Welcome to the Legacy Disciple podcast, where we attempt to normalize disciple making. I'm your host, Brian Dye, and today I'm with Lamar Brown Sims.
Talk about it.
And so let's start off real quick. Lamar Brown Sims, you have two last names.
Yeah, right.
You want to address that because that's not really normal, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not normal, so let's start
you
there.
That's true.
And that's how we doing. But no, so I got both my parents' last name. I actually didn't find out that I had two last names until I was about 16 years old, and I was going to get my first state ID, and I was with my dad, and my mom to this day calls me Lamar Sims, but my dad called me Lamar Brown, and so I don't know what they had going on, but I'm 16 years old. I'm at the Secretary of State office, and they can't find anything on Lamar Sims or Lamar Brown, and then my dad was like, try both of them. And Lamar Brown Sims, bam. I was reborn again at 16.
Born again.
Praise the
Man, family mess, right?
Yeah.
Complicates everything.
Yeah, but I love it. I love it because it's unique.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, and I really like the legacy of having both parents' last name, especially I had a very close relationship with both my grandmothers. And I feel like I got the best of both worlds when it came to the offsprings. And so like my grandmother, Grandma Brown, like she's all into sports, and athletic and just the fire and grit I get from her. But then my grandmother Carter is where, the foundation of my faith comes from, and my just being into the arts and being creative came from there. So
let's get into that a little bit. Yeah, because the whole point of these conversations is to normalize disciple making. That there's everyday people who have ministered to us, shared the gospel with us, prayed with us, who have brought us to the point we're at today, right? And so if you could share some of your spiritual journey, did you grow up in the church? Who first shared the gospel with you? Who walked with you? When do you feel like you came to be, and so forth? Yeah,
definitely, man. So I feel like God started pursuing me at a young age, and the first way that I felt like he started pursuing me was intellectually, and that was as a kid, I've always wanted to be the smartest person in the room. Like, that was just my thing. I've always been the smallest person in the room. So I was like, man, how am I going to make myself known in spaces? And I was just like, I just always been a sharp kid. Like, I was always witty, just really quick. I learned things really quick. And so I remember growing to Vacation Bible School, and I always was like, the champion of who knew the most Bible verses, who knew the 66 books, and they would have this, like, at the end of it, like this little picnic, and they would do a contest. And I was 7 years strong, Vacation Bible School, Bible, study champ. And I ended up learning so much about God just in the spirit of being competitive. Like, I want to beat this guy. Like, and my older cousin, Massey, was always like the one, you know what I'm saying? And I always was like on his heels to try and, learn. So I ended up like memorizing so much scripture by the time I was 10, 11 years old that I was like a walking, Bible man. Yeah. And so then as it went into my teenage years, I started getting into poetry and writing poetry, and I just had a gift of speaking in front of people where it just came easy for me. And at the age of 16, a lot of things happened at 16. I learned my Brown Sims, and then my pastor at the time asked me if I would be interested. Actually, didn't ask, signed me up to preach on a Sunday. It was
at
like
16 years old.
At 16, she was like, "You're preaching," and I was like, oh snap. So I got up, preached my first sermon. I was 16. I wasn't a believer, but I knew so much scripture. I had been in a church all my life that I just was like, all right, I'm gonna just consecrate myself that week that I got to preach, and I'm not going to listen to any secular music. The week I got to preach, I'm not going to, do anything that 16-year-olds do on the south side of Chicago. For this 1 week, that's pretty much how I lived my life up until I was 18. And that's when, going to church wasn't mandated, and I was able to stop going to church altogether. And then, so from there, I would say my first discipleship was my mother brought us to church every Sunday. My mother was a faithful church goer. Like, if the doors is open, my mom is there. And so she always made sure we was in the church. But my grandmother, I would say, is my first discipler. She was the one that would sit down with us on the weekend, go through the scriptures with us. We spent the weekends going to her house because my mom worked on the weekends. And so when we went there, my grandmother, she didn't own a TV. She didn't own even a radio. All she had
a Bible.
She had a Bible. And she had a library full of books. And so I fell in love with reading, and so I just read books. And really most of it was just to pass the time. And then she would have paper. We would draw. I would cut out news articles, and I would create jewelry. She had all this art supplies. So my grandmother also was a youth worker. And so she had all these supplies from her youth camp that she ran called Voice. And so I would just go through all of the supplies and just use everything. And so that's really how I got into a lot of the arts and became like the writer that I am, and just how curiosity I am, and how I just dip and dive into things. So that was my grandmother. From there, my best friend, Kenneth Townsend, came into my life when I was 18. And he was a young preacher, just came to know Christ, and he just kind of just walked with me. And he was a couple years older than me, so he was just somebody I always just kind of looked up to. He got married when he was maybe 19 or 20, and so that became a goal for me at 17, 18 as well, having to take care of a family. And so he, in a lot of ways, was the first black man that I saw that was like living for Jesus, making an honest living, taking care of his family, married, and living life, and I was like, yeah, I'm locked in arms with this guy. And then he was a Christian hip hop artist, is a Christian hip hop artist. So
DTS, right?
Yeah, DTS, right? Dead to Self. And so we would just listen to Christian hip hop. So I made a profession of faith. I was 20, so this 2009. I was at home. Me and my then girlfriend just had our second child, Melanie. We just moved into our first apartment, and then life was just going great.
You said you were how old?
I was 20.
20.
Yep. With
two kids.
Yep.
And a consistent girlfriend.
Yeah. We had been together for 2 years at that point. Met in high school, and she turned me down 3 times in high school, but finally gave me a shot after, our senior year. And she went on to graduate, went to college. I actually didn't finish high school with my class. I just went straight into working. I knew that's what I knew. I was a hustler. I knew I could make $1. All right, and so I knew I was gonna work my way to the top. And so when we got together, I went to church. I was like, that's what we do on Sundays. I was like, you gonna come with me? She didn't come from a religious background, Christian background. She knew God existed, never heard of the gospel, never really heard of who Jesus was. So for her coming to church, for me, it was out of tradition. For her, it was like life-changing. So I'm sitting there listening to stuff that I've heard a million times, like, Jesus died on the cross. And she's hearing it like, oh my God, Jesus died on the cross.
Right.
And God is like moving in her life and like transforming her heart.
Yeah.
And she made it a decision to follow Jesus at home by herself, and was like, and called me to repentance. And I mean, I was flipped out, Brian. I was like, check this out, man. I've been in the church all my life. I'm 20 years old, 19, 20. I probably heard the gospel 100,000 times. And here comes this young lady who hears the gospel, gets saved, and is calling me to repentance. You've been saved all of 2 months. you know, and so I felt some type of way about that, you know what I'm saying? So I felt like God was calling me to himself, but because he used her, I was like, yeah, I'm like, nah. But the Holy Spirit through her was very persistent, and that's how I ended up making this. I made a decision to follow Jesus. Like, all right, let's do this. We both called out to the Lord. He saved us. We got married 2 months later, so this is October 2009. We got married December 2009 because we wanted to, remain pure. We were already staying together. We already had 2 kids. Yeah. We had a wedding date for like a year out, but it was difficult to to be pure, and we love each other and seeing each other every day. She tried to put the big clothes on. I was like, them big clothes ain't working, man. I'm trying to tell you, it's making me more curious. But so we met with our pastor. The pastor was like, hey, how about you all get married now and have the wedding later when you have the money and things like that. And we were like, okay, cool. Yeah. So that's how we got married, December 27th, 2009.
Man, thanks for sharing that. You mentioned 4 people that God placed in your life to point you to him, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and I think of it like Paul speaking in Timothy about, hey, Timothy, your mom and grandmother, right? Lois and Eunice, invested in you. Don't let that go to waste. Sure. So your mother brought you to church. Yep. Your grandmother continued to build on that as you would be at her house and whatnot. And then Kenny, a peer, right, a friend, who, as you said, was the kind of the first male that you saw walking with the Lord, and then your at that time your baby mama, right? your girlfriend, who's now your lovely wife.
Who's now my wife,
and. Man, it's just amazing to see how God continues to put people in our path. Yep. When we aren't looking for him necessarily. Absolutely. When we aren't seeking it out, God plants them in our lives and again puts witnesses. Yeah. And as I know I don't think I've ever met your grandmother, maybe once or twice. But I know your mom. I know Kenny, I know Sade. None of them are vocational ministers. That's right. None of them have been to Bible school or seminary. These are normal people, right? Yeah. Who fell in love with Jesus. Someone passed the gospel on to them. Yeah. They received it. Yeah. They walked in it, and they felt the urgency to share it with others. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And so, just imagine where we would be without them, right? And which is to me an encouragement. Who are we supposed to be that to in their lives, right? Solid. People who aren't walking with God right now or not convinced of it anyway, and who has God called us to share truth with, to pray, to invite into our space, to love on with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I honor those 4 individuals in your life.
Praise God for them. Yeah.
Now, so that kind of leads into where I met you. Yep. What I remember.
Talk about it.
And you could fill in any void. Kenny, I met Kenny, I think through some Christian artist events. Yep. And so forth, and invited him to come by the house. Okay. Maybe after a show. I feel like it might have been the first time we met. It's like, hey, come by the house. It might have been at the Phil Jackson's house, the hip hop service, whatever. But anyhow, he brought you with. Yep. And so you would have been 20.
I was 20. Yeah. Well, 21.
21 years old at that time. Yep. I remember you were an official minister at your church at that time. Yep. But you would probably say that your character really wasn't caught up with your calling, right? Correct. With your gift. You had the gifts. You've always been this charismatic personality. You're able to woo people in, win people over. Yeah. You're a talented person. You're a charismatic person. Yeah. So forth. For sure. But if you could kind of fill in some voids. That day you came over to the house, and where it went from there. Yeah,
Yeah, I think for me, so Kenny introduced me to Christian hip hop. Artist Thizzle, who mentioned your name in the record, and for me, I'm a.
That, now let me just
Yeah,
say.
go ahead.
So, one day I'm at this church event, and I'm at the urinal. I'm using the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah.
And someone starts singing "Urban Missionary," which
Why you take care of your business?
And he's in the stall next to me, right? It's like, that's awkward. So, but
wild.
anyhow, shout out to Thizzle,
Yeah.
who did give a shout out to me in one of his songs, "Urban Missionary." So you were familiar with that song?
Yeah, so
you
for
knew
me,
the name.
I identify with Thizzle more than any Christian hip hop artist I have ever heard. I was like, yo, this. I'm from Inglewood. I'm like in the
And
trenches.
just so people who don't know, because Thizzle is a previous generation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then maybe some people were watching. How would you define him? A gritty, grimy hood.
Yeah, like Gucci Mane of the gospel. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
he was, that trap. You know, he just had that sound, and not only just the sound, but just the things that he talked about, like losing, friends to gun violence, right? Selling dope. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the things that was my norm of what I saw. And yet for him to know, for him to and he was it was a mission, like, I'm finna take the hood back. And I still had that in me, I still had that, like, what? This mine, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's Chicago, that's how Chicago is, we bullies, right? So I'm like, so when I got saved, I'm like, I still had the same mindset, like, I'm taking over, like, I'm still taking over the block, but this time it ain't for that, it's for Jesus, you know what I'm saying? I remember I wanted a real flashy car, and I was gonna spray paint Jesus on the side, because I still wanted to be riding around on 24s, you know what I'm saying, like T.I., but it's gonna be for Jesus. The way I dress, it's like, I'm still gonna be hood, I'm still gonna be gutter, but it's all for the glory of God. So with Thizzle, I got introduced to his music, I was like, yo, you can do this. You can be both, and you can be on mission in the hood. I ain't running from the block. I kind of was like fearless, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, nah, I want to move to the trenches. I want to be on the block where they toting, where they pushing, and I'm going to love on them and serve them. So in the song, he dropped your name, and I felt some type of way. I don't know why. Like I was somebody, but you know what I'm saying? Like I felt some type of way because this guy's from St. Louis, and he's talking about this urban missionary here in my city, And I'm like, what? Like, who putting in that much work and I don't know them? You know what I'm saying? Like, as crazy as that sound, right? It's like, who is this? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to check this dude, Brian Dye. Like, this is my city. And so that's when Kenny was like, yo, I know Brian. And I'm like, this dude is crazy. Like, you don't know Brian. He's like, yeah, like, I'm going to take you over his crib. And that was the day that you just mentioned. We went over. I remember walking in, looking around the room, trying to find you. Like, who was this Brian Dye? Really, because I was like, I got to meet this dude. And I think even then, I didn't know it, but my heart was already bent towards sitting under you. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like the Holy Spirit was already working. Like, like from the song, I was like, this sounds like somebody I want to get to know, I want to learn from, that I want to be like. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, I felt like, I don't think I ever said that until now. Like, I feel like my heart was already softened to like your leadership and your guidance. Like that day you could have told me, hey, we going to Dakota to woo, and I'd be like, all right, bet. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's just how the Lord works, and that's a great way to identify, like, as we're thinking about who is God calling me to disciple, you know what I'm saying? Who is God calling me to walk life with? I think, the Holy Spirit, soften the hearts of people. And that may not be the case in all times. Some people like, I never thought I'd walk life with you. But I think for me, I saw it, was like, oh, this is it. So then I meet you, we sat down. I think as people were like leaving the house, you had sat down and asked me like, hey man, what's up with you? And I was like, yeah, I'm a minister. I had just got ordained and was preaching, young believer. And I just remember you never being impressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, most people, young black, 21, married, and now as a minister, they like, oh my God, like, man of God, like, keep preaching, keep letting the Lord use you. Yeah. And you were like so unimpressed, like, You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know if that's just their personality where you just don't respond to things like that. But
I think that may be more my personality. I'm
pretty
just
more laid back.
You know, where you're like outgoing and expressive and so forth. But honestly, you know what you know, I've been around enough people over the years to know that there's talented people, there's gifted people who have no foundation or a weak foundation.
Solid.
Right?
Yep.
And so what concerns me is, man, how's this person's heart, right?
Yeah.
How's this person's marriage?
Yep.
Because that's what's going to sustain us over the long haul.
Yeah.
Gifts come and go.
Yep. And I think that's what really attracted me to you as a leader and as a person, because I felt when I shared that with you and you was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, then I was able to, like, we had 1347 was started, and now I'm seeing you every month at this hip hop cafe, right? Yeah. And every month when I saw you, your question wasn't, hey, how was that last sermon? Or how's that, you got some new poetry you working on? Mm-hmm. Or how's this going? Like, external. Mm-hmm. Every question you asked me was internal. Mm. How's your marriage? Mm. How's your kid? How you been spending time with Jesus? Yeah. What is that like? Those are the questions you ask, and no one is ever asking me that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, wow, this dude is really like into me. I felt like you saw me. You didn't see the artist, or you didn't see the preacher that so many people fall in love with. But I was like, I think this guy really wants to get to know me. And I'll never forget the day that I was like, oh, this is my guy, was the Urban Youth Network. We were together with a bunch of youth pastors and who was doing work in the city. And by that time, I think I've been to the Legacy Conference. So now I'm like, oh, this dude, Brian, is the real deal. Like, for real. Like, I want to be where this guy is. All right. But I wasn't kind of like, you know, I ain't the person that's been like, oh, I don't, you know, I'm like, if it play out, it play out. So we end up linking up at the Urban Youth Network. Where we met in prayer. Was it monthly or weekly? Monthly?
It was monthly, yeah.
Monthly.
And this was youth workers from around the city who would get together.
All around the city, yep.
And I was helping to organize this and so forth.
Yeah, so show up 1 month, and I don't even know if this was part of the schedule, but we were confessing sin. And I'll never forget, it got to you, and I think you were like the last person. Not because I think I just think you were leading, so it was more like you always try to make space for everybody else, right? And then it got to you, and I remember people laughing and joking, oh, Brian got nothing to confess, he got nothing, Brian's good, you know, he's perfect, he's fine. And you was like, I actually do have something to share. And at the time you were a bus driver, or maybe just stopped being a bus driver, I'm not sure. But I remember, what I do remember for sure, was you talking about you neglecting your wife because the Legacy Conference was growing so fast. And you was like, yo, like, and your words was, I will stop the Legacy Conference. You know what I'm saying? If it comes at the expense of my wife.
I want to invite you to be a Patreon of Legacy Disciple. As a Patreon, you get bonus content to our podcast. You get Legacy University courses to grow you in your faith, and it helps to support the work of Legacy Disciple. Patreon.com/Legacy Disciple.
And I was like in tears. I'm almost in tears now. Like, I was like, I just had never heard someone speak of a minister, a pastor, someone of with a platform speak of their wife that way. It was like, I drop it all. And I'm like, dude, I just saw thousands of, Lecrae was that Paul Washer? Like, what do we?
Yeah.
And you was like, I'll drop it all for her.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I need you all to pray with me because I'm trying to figure out, I'm driving this bus, I got this growing conference, I got this church, and I don't want my wife to fall. Yeah.
Man, I when you're sharing now, I'm having a flashback. I'm remembering, you know. So yeah, the conference was started in 2007 and continued to grow every year. We started a church in 2008 that was growing.
Look at that timeline. Yep.
And probably this would have been 2009.
This probably 2010.
2010.
Yep.
But the church was not able to pay. The conferences weren't making money to pay.
Yep.
And so I was driving a school bus to pay the bills.
Yep.
And so I would drive the school bus in between routes, get some work done, come home, get some work done, do some pastor meetings. I would literally go to sleep at 2 o'clock, be up at 4:30 to do the bus driving.
Yeah.
And I remember I was wiped out.
Yeah.
I didn't have time for Heidi.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't step out or do anything super crazy, but I wasn't investing in our marriage. Absolutely. And that was a pivotal time for me. Yeah. It's like, because so often we could say, but look what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Look what I'm accomplishing. Yeah. Like, see how many lives are being impacted. Sure. But then your marriage falls apart.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And just laying that at the altar. Me and Heidi literally, like, I don't want people to think that this was, oh, he just said this.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it was almost happened.
Yeah.
I remember calling people up and be like, yeah, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And thankfully, God opened up a door. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was able to join an organization, Grip Outreach for Youth, that paid my salary, and I was able to mix in a lot of the work that I was doing, bring the Legacy Conference under this organization, so do a more manageable schedule.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think being vulnerable, transparent with people that we walk with, right?
Absolutely.
That enables other people to see, oh, they're not this superhero.
Yeah.
They're not this super Christian.
Yeah.
Right? They struggle just like I do.
Yeah.
And it creates this bond where now someone else could say, oh, I connect to that person.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what led to me now feeling safe to open up to you, right? And I remember, and I'm sure you do, a year later, then we started meeting formally. You had a discipleship group that you were getting together. It was like, hey, I'm meeting with a group of guys. Shout out to Curtis. Shout out to Aaron. I think it was me, Curtis, Aaron, Massey. We met in Curtis' dorm at Roosevelt University, which was a block away from where me and Massey were working at the university.
Bro, we're talking about 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
Like 15 years ago, man.
Yep.
And rest in peace to Aaron, who passed.
No, Aaron.
Was it Aaron Krause?
It wasn't Krause.
Okay. White Aaron.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was trying not to say white Aaron.
You could say it, like Aaron Valerio.
I was going to say white Aaron, but no. Since you said it first, white Aaron. Because they were teammates.
Yeah. They played basketball together.
But shout out to Aaron Krause as well, man. Bless him. Yeah.
Yes.
But so we were meeting for a discipleship group, and I remember we met as a group there. You gave us. Ron was a part of that group too.
Oh yeah, DJ Ron.
Yep. And we met inside of a shared dorm space. And I think it was in the evenings too. When I got off work, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock.
Because you worked downtown, so you just walked over right after.
Just walked right over. Me and Massey walked over, and you gave us ESV Bible. Study Bible, big orange one. I still got to this day. And we just dived into the scripture, and that was kind of my introduction to like discipleship. But then, as time went on and lives began to, I felt like it ended up just being me and you. And I would say for 3 or maybe 4 years, we met faithfully every Wednesday at a cafe.
Overflow Coffee in South Loop
for like 3 or 4 years, every single Wednesday. It was religiously, and the thing that I loved most was we had that time together. We walked through different books about what it means to be a husband, what it means to be a father, what it means to be an activist in your community, what it means to love Jesus, right? And one thing I loved most was that wasn't the only time I saw you. It wasn't the only time I talked to you. But you'll hey, what you doing when you get off work? I'm moving some furniture with some people who come over. And I would come over and I met Dwayne, and I think he was roommates with Eddie. And so I ended up meeting these guys, and I ended up meeting Kareem. And so then I'm introduced to a community, right? And I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, I remember when I met Kareem, I was like, yo, this dude's the real deal. Like, oh my God, But then it was just a life on life. Like for somebody with your platform of where you were to help another person move a couch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just a part of spiritual leadership I had never seen before, nor did I thought that was part of your job description as their discipler, as their pastor, as their shepherd. Like no, you're supposed to get somebody else. Because I always thought of leadership as like the person who tells other people what to do. Like that's a boss, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't do the heavy lifting. That's what I got them for, right? But you exhibited Christ in a way that was so countercultural that even though I knew so much about scripture, until I saw it modeled in real life, there were certain things that I couldn't understand apart from discipleship. And I think that's why discipleship is so important, because you end up seeing the scriptures lived out in front of you. And I feel like God, you can forget what you heard, right? But you don't forget what you experience.
That's good.
That was good.
Say it one more time.
You can forget what you heard, but you will never forget what you experienced. And so having that gospel experience, the witnessing of seeing you love and pursue your wife, seeing you actively loving your neighbors, seeing you pouring into the many people that we named and so on, like that's powerful. You know what I'm saying? So then when I get to the scriptures, I got a picture. So when I'm reading it, I'm seeing an image. It's not vague. Yeah. It's like, oh, it might look like this. But when I read the scripture and it's like, love your wife as Christ loved the church, I'm like, oh, this remind me of when Brian. Or raise up your children. Oh, this remind me of my grandmother. Or there's a brother that sticks closer. There's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Oh, that reminds me of Kenny. So now it's like the gospel has skin, like the flesh. It takes on that. And
The word became flesh.
Yep.
Dwelt among us, tabernacled among us.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what God does. He became flesh.
Yeah.
Walked with us.
Yeah.
Cried with us.
Taught that incarnation.
The incarnation of Jesus.
Absolutely.
And so in the same way, we're called to be like Christ, right? We're called to be like Jesus. And what does it look like? Not just to, again, intellectually share truth, but to be the hands and feet as well.
Yeah.
To model it.
To model it.
Similar to what you said, I grew up in the church, and I remembered hearing Ephesians 5 preached, husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church, gave himself up for her, and so forth.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was 12 years old where someone became a father figure to me, invited me into his house for dinner with him and his wife. It was, at that time, I had heard Ephesians 5 preached, but this was the first time I saw it preached, where they loved each other and they honored each other, they respected each other. And I didn't see that growing up in my family, unfortunately, right? And so the word becomes flesh. Our doctrine has to put on clothing, right? Let's fast forward a little bit here. So you're continuing to grow. We're meeting every week at the coffee shop. We're going through scriptures together. We're asking each other questions on life and marriage, and your marriage is starting to get stronger, right? Because for a while it was on shaky ground. You would say, right?
It was real. I mean, I got married on mere love itself. And I say that because love isn't enough to sustain a marriage. And when I say love, I mean the fluffy, romantic, I knew I didn't want to be with nobody else. I'll say that. Let me. I knew I didn't want to be with nobody else. I knew I wanted to be with her. That was it.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the wisdom or the maturity, you know what I'm saying, the guidance to maintain a marriage. Like I knew I was making the right decision, but I didn't know exactly what that right decision would require of me, And so we got married young, no counsel, no anything, no prior. Like my dad didn't marry my mom. My mom did marry my stepdad, who was a drug addict, so that didn't help. And so I had no picture of what a healthy marriage looked like, let alone an example of a man pursuing, a woman or a wife. And so I was doing the best I could with whatever I could, and it was very bad. And my wife and I were struggling much because of ministry. So right after I got saved, I jumped right into ministry. It was literally honeymoon, preaching the next day, literally. Yeah. And when I met Preston at 1347, poetry was then added to my ministry. So I'm preaching and a youth pastor, and then I'm poetry, and then poetry took off. And I'm doing 3-4 shows a week on top of working a full-time job, and my wife is being neglected in our first year of marriage. Like, this is like a few months in, and she's like, yeah, this ain't working out for me. Yeah. And I'm like, don't let I thought it was the devil. I rebuked her. I did. I rebuked her. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, you always at these shows, and I mean, in
many ways it could feel to our wives that they're a mistress, or that we have a mistress, right? That we're cheating on them with.
Absolutely. Like, that's who you love, which is, to your point, I took a sabbatical from poetry after I confessed this to you and was like, yo, my marriage is on the rocks. Like, I don't know. I don't think we're going to make it to year 1 or year 2. And your counsel, your discipleship was leave it all behind and pursue your wife. And I took the sabbatical. And when I got back from sabbatical and my marriage was healthy, the next poetry show, I did a poem called Adultery. And in the poem, I was using imagery of a mistress, that I was cheating on my wife the first year of marriage. And along the poem, I was like, and the person that I cheated on her with was ministry. Yeah. And I mentioned your name in it as well. And so I think, for me, it was, marriage was on the rocks, and it was through that relationship I was able to confine that into you. You were able to guide me. Heidi was able to come alongside Sade, which they had lunch the other day. I don't know if you know that, but they be getting together.
They love each other.
Yeah, just eating and having fun. And so you both came alongside us and our family, and that's the thing also about discipleship that needs to be talked about is it wasn't just you and me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have your own relationship with Sade. Yeah. If I'm ever doing anything crazy.
Sade has called me many a times. Brian, get your boy.
Come get your boy. This dog. I remember I had the dog.
And she don't call Heidi for that. She calls me.
Brian, come get your boy. And I think that's just a testament to, one, she just having that relationship, like a father figure, is someone who can call and be like, I know a person that can check you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I know a person that you respect. You listen to Brian. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even in times I didn't listen to my wife, it was like, I listen to Brian. And you know what I'm saying? And she knew that. And she was like, this is what accountability looks like. And now I can call her and be like, hey, Heidi, I'm finna do that tonight. I'm like, Heidi, come get your girl. But yeah, I think I forgot where I was going actually with that.
But with that though, I think it's easy to look for ministry on a platform. Yeah. And we skip over our own household. Yeah. We skip over our own neighbor. Yeah. Right? Because for some reason, we think that ministry on a stage, ministry in a classroom, whatever the case might be, is more effective, more glorifying, so forth. But really, it's probably our own pride, right? Where it's like, an audience is going to clap for me if I give a good message. Good. And it feels good, right? Mm-hmm. But they don't know who I am. It's, they're just seeing what gift I have. Yeah. our family, our spouse, our children, right? Our best friends, our neighbors, they're the ones who really know us.
Yeah.
And if what we're saying is legit, if we really believe it, right? Especially today, right? People wanna know, is what he's saying real? Because on Instagram, like, you delete 10 photos before you pick the one that you're gonna post, right? That perfect one. Because that's who we are. We want people to see our best self.
Yeah.
And so what does it look like, again, in our marriage? Again, ministry will always be there. The public ministry. I always tell people, public ministry, national ministry, even global ministry is great. We need people to minister in those spaces. But what needs to happen first is the immediate, the local, right?
Yeah. And the overflow of that should be a public ministry.
Yep. So, all right, let's move a little forward.
Okay.
So we mentioned already, I had this church, a house church that was planting house churches.
Yep.
You and Sade eventually come.
Yep.
I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years into the church, and you guys are members for a while. I don't think you ever felt that I was pressuring you to be part of this church or anything like that. I was pastoring you, shepherding you, right?
Yeah, years before I even was a member role
or anything like that, right? So it's not like I was getting your tithes and offerings, and when you started coming, you weren't really paying much tithes and offerings because y'all were poor at that time.
For sure.
You were working at McDonald's, and then
you hear me?
And then you started working as a janitor at this place
Flipping
downtown,
burgers
and so forth.
to cleaning toilets.
Yeah,
God is good.
But you started coming to the church. Within probably a couple years or so, you became an elder of the church. We just a quick background. We had multiple house churches, and with that, we had multiple elders that kind of formed a leadership team together.
Yeah.
There was no one senior pastor. It was all of us together leading this movement of house churches. Unfortunately, there was some tension within the leadership of how to handle the growth that was happening with this church. I step out of that church in the summer of 2019 because personally I just felt like a lot of the weight was being put on my shoulders, and I just couldn't. I really started having some flashbacks to the bus driving scenario. And I was like, I can't keep going at this pace, right? So I step out. It created a lot of tension within relationships because I remember one of my good guys, Corral, he had explained it like this. It felt like our parents got divorced and our dad left the house, which stung like a mess, right? Pandemic happens, and so now the all the churches end up closing before the pandemic starts. Now people have no church home, right, to go into, and it was a depressing time for me because I felt like I failed. And I couldn't really talk to too many people about it because I didn't want to create a mess and so forth. But at that time, I would say you were kind of you were having a hard time dealing with it, right? Because in many ways, I was like a father figure to you. But we were also co-laborers in this church, right? And even though you, in discussions, kind of agreed with my decision, it was, I think, still hard for you to process, right? And you were kind of left with getting a lot of the backlash too, right? What happened with Brian and so forth. And I remember one day, and we shared this just to show that, like, discipleship relationships could get messy, right? there could be pain, there could be conflict, and it's not always roses. It's never roses, right? It gets messy. And so at this time we're 9 or 10 years into our relationship. Again, I've been a father figure, and I remember one day I posted something on Facebook, and you came and just ripped me to shreds. Just totally disagree with what I said, which is one thing to disagree, right? But you kind of said it in some very vicious words. And automatically I'm having people call me, what is going on? Why did Lamar do this? I'm like, I don't know, you know? And we talk and you know, it wasn't solved immediately as well, right? I kind of felt like it was a transition point of our relationship. I felt almost like you having a kid, and you have teenagers now, right?
Right.
Who are growing into adults, like on that precipice of becoming an adult, and you test. Okay, you're not my dad anymore. You're not my mom anymore. You can't tell me what to do no more. I'm my own person. I'm paving my own path. I'm grown. Right? I felt that it was that what you were going through. Also, you know, I think there was some family stuff that was going on with, I think your grandmother just passed, who you shared about was a huge influence in your life and so forth. Can you just, from your perspective, what was going on there? Because I think that leads into kind of the next topic of a ministry program that you've created over the last few years. But
absolutely. Yeah, so that timeline, 2019, was not only, you were going through a lot, what you just shared about feeling like you're back 10 years ago as a bus driver trying to balance these things, right? So you're up against a lot. You got a lot of pressure on you. You're going through a lot of emotions, big feelings, big decisions. And at the same time, I was going through my own separate storms as well. It's like you were going through a storm, I was going through a storm. We both were going through a storm at the same time. And while some of it was, I felt like I was trying to navigate what our relationship was turning into, because for so long you were dad, you know what I'm saying? You was the father figure, you was the person I looked up to. And now we're co-laborers leading the church together. Now we're discipling guys together. Right now guys are calling you, right? But they're also calling me, and they're hanging out at my house, and they're hanging, right? And so then there's like this equal playing field that we're now on, right? It's like, you know, Dwayne Wade and LeBron just linked up in Miami, right? And it's like, okay, who team is it? You know what I'm saying? So Dwayne Wade been here, but LeBron's the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? One of the GOATs. But, you know, and so it's like, how do you get these two superstars to play on the same team and win multiple championships? And that's the hardest job of coaches, and why some of the greatest coaches are able to do that. The Phil Jacksons and Pop, right, are able to take great players and put them together. But at the time, we're going through these two storms, and for me, I lost my grandmother, who I talked about was my hero. And although she died at the age of 91, 92, lived a very long, prosperous, God-glorifying life, I still didn't know that her death would have the effect that it had on me. And so I went through a lot of what I grieved was I didn't realize how much of an impact my grandmother had on me until she passed away. Like I always mention my grandmother and the things but when she passed away, I started to reflect yo, I am who I am because of her. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I got that from my grandma. Being creative, doing this, doing it. That's my grandma. So I'm at her home and people are getting up talking about her and her young age. And I'm like, yo, that's me. And so I grieved that, because I was like, I wish I spent more time with her. I wish I gave more. And so I'm going through that. At the same time, the church, you know, there's the tension going on with the leadership. Terrell said it felt like a divorce. And so here I have this very close and intimate relationship with you 10 years in. Well, I'm like, we locked in. This is it. And then it's like, now I got this commitment where I was at the church for 3 or 4 years leading. And I'm like, this is I love legacy. And so I'm trying to balance between the conflicting parties between the two. It's like I got legacy and then I got Brian, and I'm equally committed to both of them. And so I'm trying to serve both as best as I can, and while at the same time balancing grief and things and whatever like that. And I think what I did was I ended up bleeding on our relationship. And so there were things that I smothered, you know what I'm saying, at that time, where I normally would come and talk to you about. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There was things that I was feeling and experienced that I normally was like, normally Brian is the first person I call. But then it was like, I'm good. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to push through this. And so then we get to the Facebook post, and there's this pent up, like, anger, you know what I'm saying, towards you because you left legacy. And there's also like so much of my growth, so much of who I felt like God was developing and growing me to be was tied to you. And so when you left, it kind of left me like in the dark, where I was like, you know what I'm saying, honestly speaking, I was like, I don't know, I can't make it without Brian. I was like I can't do this without Brian. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was so much reliance, and I think it's healthy. I think it was so healthy for me to go through that, because I think now I have such a realistic view of you in our relationship that before it was so superficial. You know what I'm saying? In a way where you were a superhero, you know, in my eyes. Like, this dude can do no wrong. Like, no, it's like, what you say? Like, it's nothing. But I think in that moment, you know, it was like Clark Kent. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just he's Brian. You know what I'm saying? He's human, and I'm God, and I'm keeping you. It was never Brian. You know what I'm saying? It was never your grandmother. It's always been me. And I felt like I had to experience the conflict between us. The space had to be made for me to see that, and it didn't lead to me saying, "Oh, I don't need Brian no more. All I got is King Jesus." It led to a more deeper love, you know what I'm saying, for you because of Jesus. And I was like, yo. And I saw the Facebook post was the outcry. It was it was like the boiling point. And for me, it's like you do something and you step back, it's like, dang, that's not who I am. That's not, you know, who we are, you know. And that led to me going to therapy, because I started lashing out in other spaces as well. My marriage started feeling it again. Our relationship was strained. I got a poor performance view at the ministry that I was working at. This was all happening at the same time, so I was bleeding out everywhere. Yeah. And so I went to therapy and started this journey of healing and growth. And I think that was just a very important, you know, time for me in my faith, where God was showing me how much I hadn't grown emotionally, how much of my heart I hadn't submitted to him. Yes, I was pursuing him intellectually through theology and preaching. Yes, I was showing up in ministry and serving and even making disciples. But there was so much unresolved trauma from growing up in Inglewood, growing up on the south side of Chicago. You know, my dad and my mom living in two different homes, my stepdad who abused drugs. And I mean, I remember being a kid and was already trained to not have expectations. So when Christmas came around, I didn't expect nothing, because you can't be disappointed if you have no expectations. And so that was always I didn't know, but that was part of my development. And so I never expect anything from nobody. Like, and that's still even the struggle today. It's like, you give me something, that's cool, but I don't expect anything from nobody, because I had to learn that as to survive, that's something I had to learn, or that I was going to be crying my eyes out every single day. And losing my first friend to gun violence at 16, just witnessing different things. I was promiscuous very early, and having the early exposure to different sexual perversions and things that I thought made me a man was what I was running from, was all of this trauma and all of this pain. And even 10 years into being married, 10 years into being discipled, that was still underneath all of that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Underneath all of that was that hurt, was that crying little boy. Yeah. And I felt like it took my world falling apart for me to see that child again. And I never forget, and haven't shared this with a whole lot of people, but I end up at a hospital because I was struggling with suicide ideation as a result of feeling all these emotions. And going to that hospital and spending that time, I was held against my will. No cell phone, no outside connections or anything, and I was just there. No nothing to distract me. And I felt like I was back at my grandmother's house when I was 8 years old, where all I had was a paper, some coloring books, and the voice of God. And for those 3 days, I was completely disconnected from the world. You came to visit me. Probably was the only visitor I would allow, because I just didn't want anyone knowing. Not even that I want people in my business, but like I just didn't want people to know, because I didn't know how to even talk to them about that. They'd be like, so what was going on? What led? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like answering questions. You were my only visitor. And so in that, I remember being in this hospital, and I had a roommate who was struggling. I mean, he was very aggressive. I was chill. Even through the door, I was just quiet, stay to myself. And my roommate was very aggressive, where they would strap him down and different things like that. And I remember the first night there, I was just talking to him, and it was just like, hey, getting to know him, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And the next day, he was having an episode. And the staff at the hospital were trying to get him under control. And one of the nurses came and got me and was like, hey, can you go talk to him? And I walked in that room and was able to calm him down. And that's where Thriving Minds came from. And it was in that, what I felt like was the darkest season of my life, that I saw a light. And not only was God healing me, but he was also preparing me for the journey ahead, and how, I would, advocate for the healing of so many black and brown girls in our city. And so, I left that hospital feeling refreshed, feeling reborn, feeling like I had a new vision. And one of the things that I wanted to be very intentional with was just our relationship. And when the opportunity came and you was like, hey, what you think about starting your own program? I was like, let's get to these children as young as possible, because I kept thinking about the 8-year-old me that just wish, somebody said they believed in. All I just needed was a hug, and I was like, I need to reach the 8-year-old me. And then I sat down. I actually was going to name the program. I don't know if you remember. I don't think I've ever seen you move to tears like that.
Man, be quiet. Keep the camera over there.
But you want to talk about that?
Well, so, man, as you're just sharing, a lot is coming back, right? Because I forgot about you being hospitalized. And I'm pretty sure it must have been Sade who called me to tell me. And I remember, again, the hurt and the pain that I felt. Because I knew you were going through stuff, and, you try to give people space and understanding and so forth, but it hurts. Imagine one of your children, do something similar, right? And but in that moment, like this is why I don't think many people walk with other people, disciple other people, because people are messy. We're all messy.
Yeah.
Each one of us, right? And it hurts and it's painful.
Yeah.
Right? When we talk about Judas like betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, but it's just as hurtful as Peter, right? Denying him 3 times.
Yeah.
And to be denied in a sense, right?
Yeah.
When you feel like, man, I've given myself for 10 years.
Yeah.
I've walked with this person,
Yeah.
you know, and it hurts.
It hurts.
Right?
Yep.
But what I think God was moving in me through that season, as you shared your side of it, God was moving in me is like, love as I love you, right? This is not about you. It's not about, you know, it's about, man, God has loved me through all my mess.
Yeah.
You know, we have to understand that our trauma, our brokenness brings ugliness into relationships.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the fall. That's part of humanity. That's part of the brokenness in this world. And the only way we get through that is love.
Yeah.
Is pushing through, believing the best about somebody else. Yeah. You know, being there for them whenever they're ready to call.
Yep.
You know, okay, I don't care what you've done. Mm-hmm. You know, or how I feel you've hurt me. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Because we were our relationship was still like still rebuilding from the conflict of the church transition, the Facebook post. And even in that moment, I still was like, call Brian.
Yeah.
And she was like, you want anybody to know? I said, Brian. I just first person came to mind, Brian. Yeah. You know, and you came, you know what I'm saying, across town, you know, and I think to your point, that's love, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the gospel, and that you just kept showing up. We just kept showing up. You showed up, I showed up, you know, and we took one step, and to the grace of God, like God has restored our relationship. You know, I've been here on staff at Legacy for 3 years now.
So let's jump into that, because let's get past all the, you know, thug tears that are welling up in my eye right now. The healing happens as you do your own work. I'm doing my own work.
That's right.
You know, this time my brother dies of COVID.
Yep.
It was the pandemic. There was so much going on, right, for everybody.
Yeah.
So we're both doing our own work. We're both having conversations, and not all those conversations were easy, right? Like there were some tense words being shared, but we never quit.
Yep.
We never gave
That's
up.
It.
We pushed through.
Yep.
We persevered through it, both of us.
Yeah. And I think both of us were open to reconciliation. Like we
wanted it.
Yeah, we wanted it.
Right?
Right. It was like neither one of us got to a point where it's like, I'm done with you. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you suck right now, so don't talk to me, but I love you. It's kind of like, I think about the picture of like, oftentimes you see a picture of like a couple, an older couple, and they like the husband is mad at the wife, but he's still like helping her get something off the top shelf.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So we worked through that, and this is again 2019 when all this begins, goes into 2020.
Yep.
Maybe 2020, towards the end of 2020, early 2021, we're starting to reconcile, heal, push through, so forth. We start hanging out again. You were working at a ministry, a good ministry, doing good work, you know, so forth. But I remember you kind of sharing your journey of your own mental health and being, you know, unpacking the trauma and going to the therapy and so forth. And at this time, the conferences, which Legacy Disciple has been known for, we weren't able to have the conferences.
Yeah.
And so I remember just I think we were having breakfast at Daly's probably because that's one of our favorite spots to meet up at. It was like, man, if you could create your own ministry, what would it look like? And I remember we dreamt together through that. You started sharing, hey, I'm working with junior high and high school students, but by then they're broken, and it's Frederick Douglass has this quote, right? It's easier to
build strong children than to repair broken men.
There we go. I always get it mixed up, but
I got you, brother.
Yeah, how do we invest in young people rather than you try to fix them later on, right? And not that we give up on people later on,
absolutely,
but the work gets a lot more complicated because there's a lot more trauma, a lot more pain, a lot more hurt, relationships, and so forth. So you started dreaming of this program. We came up with the name Thriving Minds, right? How do we help the mind to thrive? Share a little bit of what Thriving Minds looks like.
So Thriving Minds is a wellness and creative arts program. It falls under the umbrella of social emotional learning. And what we do at Thriving Minds is we seek to equip students as young as first grade with coping skills, mechanisms, and creative outlets. And so what we do is we want students to have tools that they need before they need them. I like to think of it as you don't teach a person what to do when they're on fire. You have fire drills in the schools in case there's a fire. We have shooting drills now in the schools in case of a shooting. So we have all of these emergency plans in place in case. Now, will there be a fire? We don't know. Will there be a shooting? We don't know. It could happen to anybody at any time. So everyone needs to know what to do in case it does. And I see it the same way as far as our mental health. Like, why aren't we taking those same measures and saying, we know anxiety's coming. You might be depressed. You're going to experience trauma, especially living in Roseland, Inglewood, West Garfield. We know the adverse traumas and we know the numbers, right? The third grade testing scores. And we're able to make enough prisons based on how well a person can
behind,
read. Exactly. And we're able to make those predictions. And so for me, I'm thinking of it and saying, okay, everything around mental health, servicing the community, seemed to me was reactive. They fall down and then they get all of these resources. Let's get you back. Now that you got a record, now we trying to get you a job, and we're trying to do all of this work after you've fallen, after you've went through this, whatever you went through. For me, it's like, I don't think the mission is to react. I think it's the being proactive. Prevention. Like how can we stop this from happening? Not how can we respond better to it happening? And so for me, it was like, okay, for me, the simplest way is teaching students mindfulness. Take a deep breath, slow down, calm down, right? If we can get little Johnny in the first grade who throws a tantrum, crashes out when he drops his apple on the floor, if we can say, slow down, Johnny, take a deep breath, focus, breathe, relax. Now what's going on? I dropped my apple. Here's a new apple. It was right behind you. Thank you. If we can get their minds to respond in that way, then you build this pathway in their mind. So when they get to 7th grade, when they get to 12th grade, and a parent dies, right? Or they witness someone being shot, they're not learning how to cope while they grieve, but they're going back to, I've been practicing in case there's trauma. since I was in first grade. So now I know how to respond. And a lot of this came from
natural.
It comes natural. It's a natural response because anger is something that they practice. And I tell my students every day, you become better at whatever you make a practice of.
You're a basketball player, right?
Yep.
And you got to get the form down. Steph Curry, right? Shoots however many 3-pointers every single day. So it's natural to him. He doesn't have to think about it.
It's almost just first nature.
Yeah.
It's like, you get to a point, and this is a term they call, like, well, we call it blackout. Like, he's blacked out, but really that's called a flow. That means that your mindset, you can get so focused that you become unconscious to the reality. And when we see basketball, when a player goes there, the other team doing what? Timeout. Because they want to break that flow up. Because if LeBron James gets into a flow state, Michael Jordan, Kobe, any of those players, any player, I mean, we talk, Tony Allen, whatever you want to go. If a person gets into a flow state, they're unstoppable because you don't exist. And every shot they go up, their confidence is through the roof. And that's what makes them such a good player. And when you couple that with the skill set of practicing hours at the same thing, and it connects with that flow, you have greatness. You have what we call thriving. They are thriving players. And so it's that same, we adopt that same thing here at Thrive Minds and saying, okay, they're getting the skills, they're getting the academics, they have to do, like, how do we incorporate that, get them into a place where they can flow? Oh, they need to slow down. They need to focus. So even this year, like all year, all we working on is focus skills. Today, when we was at Thriving Minds, we sat down. I had them close their eyes. This is a group of third graders. And third graders is like this all the time. I mean, they just bouncing, right? And I had a group of classroom, 20, 30 third graders in a classroom. We did some mindful practices, some deep breath. I had them close their eyes, put their hands flat on the desk, sit up straight, and sit quiet. And the whole class just sat there just like this. No music, no white noise. I want you to sit in this quiet space. And I want you to hear yourself think. And I want you to feel your body. And I remember scanning the room, making sure their eyes was closed and wasn't playing. And the teacher was in the corner like, with her mouth open like, oh my God. And I told them why their eyes was closed. I was like, you probably never get a chance to sit in a quiet room for the rest of the day. Because many of them will leave that school and go home to arguing parents. They will go home to loud neighbors. And it's just so loud in the city. It's just loud, right? And the city and lives can be so loud that you don't even hear yourself. And then when you don't hear yourself, there's a low self-awareness. And in those moments, like, what are you telling yourself right now? And they're able to slow down just for a moment, and they're like, man, life ain't that bad. I'm all right. I'm cool. And so I'm excited to be able to, equip students. It's funny, I got a kindergarten class this year. So I'm
keep getting younger
and younger. They keep getting younger and younger. I
feel like you started with 7th grade, and you've been going down?
I started at 6th grade, my first year. Shout out to Counselor Mitchell at Schmidt. She was like, dude, y'all didn't think for my 4th graders. And I was like, I didn't create Thriving Minds with 4th grade in mind. I'm starting at 6th grade, And she was like, well, I got these 4th grade boys, and they need help. They need something. And most mentoring don't start till 6th grade. But I got a big group of 4th grade boys. I said, I'm here. Let's lock in. I had those 4th grade boys who are now in 8th grade, right? It's crazy. And walked with them through Thriving Minds, switched up the curriculum a little bit to fit where they were. The next year, I got a 3rd grade class and 2nd grade, and just kept going younger and younger. And what I love to see is that when you're engaging with students that young, everything they just take it all in. They just grabbing it and taking it, and it's all fun and games. I tried mindfulness with like 7th and 8th graders, and they looked at me like I'm crazy. Because by that time, they've already in their mind decided who they are going to be. Even at 6th and 7th grade, they've already decided, nah, I'm a knucklehead. I ain't calming down. Mm-hmm. And they'll tell you, like, no, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, now it's intervention. Now we're talking about intervention. Yeah. Now we're talking about psychology and trying to reprogram the brain from flowing the way that it is. Yeah. Because they did it to survive, not knowing that what it takes to survive in the streets is not what it takes to survive in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Like, you're no longer in danger here. You can sit, listen, and learn. You don't have to. But they don't know how to turn that off and on, so it just stays on. Yeah. All the time. They're always like this, on red alert. And study shows that when a person, we call it PTSD, when a person lives in that state of mind, they're most likely to have heart disease. They're more prone to all type of bodily dysfunctions. Yeah. Depression increases. Now their decision making lowers, and they're more prone to, violence and be abusive, and all of that is coming from unresolved trauma, which is coming from unequipped, individuals growing up. And so we just try to get in front of what we have as a epidemic in our nation, especially coming out of the pandemic with anxiety and depression. And it's so common now. But when I was growing up, I had no idea what anxiety was or depression. No. Nowadays, anxiety, you got songs, it's all in the music, it's part of pop culture. So we have a generation that's growing up knowing how to identify their emotions. They could tell you exactly how they feel.
They may not know how to deal with it.
And they have no idea how to deal with it. Everybody knows what anxiety is, but it's okay, when you feel anxious, what you do? I don't know.
Pop a pill. Unfortunately, right?
Yeah. Vape. Because they don't cope. Everyone has coping skills. Yeah. Everyone has mechanisms that they go to make them feel better. That could be sex, drugs, in the moment. But there are some coping skills that lead you further on that road to destruction, and then there are some coping skills that lead to healing. Yeah. And something as simple as learning how to write poetry can save a person's life. I know it because it was me. Yeah. When I lost my friend at 16, I responded in a different way than my friend did. I was broken to the point where I wrote a poem about it. He was broken to the point where he grabbed a gun about it. And it led us to two different paths. It led us down two different paths in two different places. That poetry then opened up for me to become an artist and to use that as a platform to share my story, my testimony, and different things like that. Now I teach poetry. Yeah. And this person, that led to picking up a gun, returning citizen, getting their life back together. And we're both, on our journey. But it's like, if he knew, what if he knew how to write poetry too? What if he knew how to write music? What if he knew how to draw? And we read about and learn about so many people like LeBron James who grew up in these areas. I took all of that out in basketball. Yeah. I took all of this out. I'm putting it all in music, raw wave, and different things like that. So,
we got to start landing the plane. Okay. This is one of our longer podcasts, I believe. But Thriving Minds, just real quick. Right now, it's just in the city of Chicago. We're at 5 schools or 4? 4?
I believe 4 schools.
4 schools. Yep. I know there's other schools that have been knocking on the door. We just haven't had the capacity. Yeah. And so for those watching, go to legacydisciple.org. I believe it's /Thriving Minds. Yeah. You can find out more information about Thriving Minds. You can become a legacy partner to help us fund the organization, fund the ministry. Thriving Minds is a ministry of Legacy Disciple. Yep. And I know our heart is to get to more schools here in Chicago. Yeah. Again, you were just telling me this morning that was it the principal?
Yeah, assistant principal.
Assistant principal absolutely loves Thriving Minds at the school, and we've heard reports from teachers and parents and students and so forth. That's what it was, that they were looking for an after-school program, and all the kids wrote in Thriving Minds, even though it wasn't one of the options. So it's a needed program. It's an impactful program. And what's beautiful is, as it's part of one of our arms of the organization, we funnel those kids into a local church where we do a mentorship program called Brotherhood and Sisterhood.
That's right.
Where now they're getting the spiritual on top of the social emotional.
Yep.
And then we employ the students over the summer through Hood Heroes. And then we're helping them buy homes through J29 Homes, which that's a whole nother story, because you and Sade were the first homeowners through that program. So LegacyDisciple.org, you can find out information on all this. I know the long-term goal, hopefully, I would say within the next year, is that we will create a playbook where we could train people in other cities, right? How to run Thriving Minds, how to run one of these other programs. So be on the lookout for that. Lamar, if I could just affirm you, man, I absolutely love you. Again, it's crazy to think that we're 15 plus years into this. You have always been, since I've known you, a man of great passion, who I mean, again, spoken word, poetry, you've done carpentry, you were doing photography. I mean, you're always looking for some way to express your passions in preaching. I think you preach as an artist, as a creative, as a person of passion. You never do anything half-hearted. You always come with if you're going to be there, you're going to come with your full self. And those kids love you. Those educators love you. As a result, everyone loves you. What I always on the shadow side of our passions, right, of our strengths, is something we always need to be mindful of, because as we've talked through over the years, right, someone who's super passionate, the shadow side of that is, well, you could get passionate about another thing and another thing and another thing, right, where now your plate becomes so full, you become overwhelmed, right? You're trying to balance all this out, and other areas of your life are suffering as a result. And also, what if someone doesn't like your message? What if someone doesn't like your poetry? Oh, that was whack, It hurts in a different way. And just, bringing your passion, which God has wired you to do, and making sure it's laid at the feet of Jesus, right? God, I have these passions. What are you calling me to do, right, in this moment, this season? So thank you again for being who you are. Man. Thank you for being a good friend to me, a co-laborer in the gospel. Thank you again for joining us for Legacy Disciple Podcast. Until next time.
Thank you for checking out today's episode of the Legacy Disciple Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about our ministry, upcoming conferences, or partnering with us, head to our website at legacydisciple.org. We also encourage you to follow us online at Legacy Disciple on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Until next time, continue to be a disciple that makes disciples.